when Tom Herman took the job, I thought he was the right guy. And even up until the last news conference, this guy, number one, we know he knows offensive football. He's got a commanding presence. He's intelligent. To listen to that guy talk ball, he knows what he's talking about. I just thought there were a number of things working for him there. And you look back on it, and you can see, I guess, 2020 being a microcosm of the entire tenure from Tom Herman. He was this close. He was the Iowa State game, the Oklahoma overtime game. I guess he was that close to losing more as well. There were some tight rope acts on the other end that they did pull out. But what went wrong there? Did you guys feel as though he was the right guy to take this and keep it at the level you guys expect?
Could I hit this first?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought right away he was. I'm not going to lie. When it was between LSU and us, I was like, please pick us, because if he took the LSU job, I didn't know where we were going to go. I didn't really think of anyone else at the time that could have taken the job. And you're right. When he took over and he came in with the press conference, I'm thinking, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. But then you kind of realize he's like a snake oil salesman. He's a politician. He'll tell you what you want to hear, but I don't think he had the goods to back it up. And the thing is, his original staff was they were bad hires. If he would have made the hires that he made on this second portion of his staff originally, I still think he'd be here, because I really like Tim Beck, or not Tim Beck, our defense coordinator from last year.
Mike Yusich and Chris Ash.
Yeah, Chris Ash. Sorry about that. And I would have been fine with retaining him. Obviously, we went a different way with Pete Kwiatkowski. But I just think he just couldn't back up what he was bringing in the press conferences. Obviously, couldn't develop. And overall, it was just kind of went downhill from there. And also, I don't know if he created the whole Urban Meyer situation, but bringing all that heat on him from that, I think really took a toll on him. I think that aged him a lot, because if you saw from then on there, he looked sick in press conferences. Like, he lost a lot of weight. His hair was thinning. He did not look good to me.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm gonna hit on it real quick. So we were on the show with someone else hosting this past week, and they asked us. Clint talked about our excitement level with the coaches and what we think they could bring to the university. Somebody asked us, when was the last time we were as excited as we are right now since the 2005 national championship game? And I said, after the Sugar Bowl win against Georgia. I really, really felt we were on the right track. Like, we played really, really well in that game. Like I said, we had Sam returning that was his sophomore year. His junior year, I felt like we had the talent coming back to really compete for a championship. And it just seemed like it went all downhill. And we're a fan site. But, yes, we do have friends that cover the team. And if you talk to them, it's a relationship issue. How Steve Sarkisian's talked about having relationships with his players, relationships with recruits. Tom Herman didn't take phone calls from recruits. That was an assistant coach job. So the whole Quinn Ewers, Tom Herman won't talk to him. That's the reason why he decommitted. That's a fact. And when he would take the podium on Monday, he would never take accountability for his team or take the blame. It was always another problem or this or that, or we got better because we had a good Sunday practice. It was never taking accountability for his team's performance, because Mark's right. You lost 3 games by a total of 13 points, but you could have been 4-6 or 5-5 just as easy. You had to come back from 15 points down to Texas Tech with 3 minutes to play and get an onside kick. Like, those things happen over and over and over again. So you could never blow anybody out or beat anybody by 2 touchdowns that you were supposed to beat. They were always nip and tuck. And then you would lose games. Like I said, we didn't lose a road game last year. We lost 2 home games and a neutral site game to TCU, Iowa State, and Oklahoma. But, yeah, I think it was more relationships and accountability than it was about, like Mark said, his genius about offensive football and being able to coach the X's and O's. I think it's more about relationships and how he handled the press. Yeah,
to me, he was one of these guys, again, would be crazy to sit up here and think that, when Tom Herman wasn't hired from Houston, that wasn't everybody was excited. That's first and foremost. To me, when you play not to lose versus playing to win, you always put yourself behind the chains. And I think that's what you got from Tom Herman each and every weekend. That's why the games were either, that's why they were close every weekend. That's why an individual like me that takes blood pressure medication has to take 2 blood pressure medications, because you knew exactly what you were going to get on Saturday. And I think it's because that's why they had what they nicknamed Turtle Tom, is because he would literally become like slow everything down to a point where you became so conservative that you stopped trying to win, but you played not to lose. And I think that was really the downfall of Tom Herman. And like Jeremy says, you got to be a relationship guy in college football. Some guys can do it. Some guys run off to the NFL because they don't want to have to worry about being that relationship guy. But you got to be able to talk to recruits, be personable to parents, go into a living room and sit down with the parents and know that you're being real and genuine. And I think that was one of his weaknesses. And you've seen it on Mondays during press conferences when, he'd come out and talk in a press conference and he made himself seem a lot smarter than everybody else in the room. And that, I think that turned a lot of people off. It got to a point where I stopped, I was one of these guys that because we'd do a show on Monday nights after his press conference, and I stopped watching press conferences altogether. It just became the same thing over and over and over again. You kept hearing pretty much year after year after year.
When he got fired, there was talks of players would walk down the hall next to him and they'd be like second or third string players and they'd say hi and he wouldn't even talk to them. So, I mean, you can't do that at all, especially the college kids and the pros. You can probably get away with that because they make more than you and they probably don't respect you that much anyways. But college, you got to be like they're pretty much their parent. So I don't understand that. And then on the field is, again, he hit on the biggest issue is there'd be games. I still remember the Texas Tech game from 2-3 years ago when you're up by like 21 and he just goes into a shell, runs it like 6 or 7 straight times. And they end up coming back and Sam has to pull it out of his butt. And that was the biggest issue is we'd always rely on Sam to pull something out of his butt to win games. And we can never get the team to play as a team. It would be always one aspect was going well and the other two weren't. Special teams, especially the first 2 years, was terrible. So it's just an all-around mess. I'm glad to be rid of him. And hopefully Sark can improve on the things he wasn't good at.